Our next guest was an outstanding linebacker at North Carolina State in the 1970s. Not quite outstanding enough to get drafted. That didn't stop him from having a 4-year NFL career with the Eagles and Browns. Went on to be a Super Bowl winning coach with the Steelers. Widely considered one of the top 3 coaches the Steelers have ever had over the last 50 years. On a personal note, he has 3 daughters who are way better athletes than he ever was. Please welcome Bill Cowher. You look like you could still play.
Yeah, quite the set you have here.
Yeah.
This is really like a home away from home. Huh?
Yeah, this is good. Nice
like
little man cave.
Yeah,
Do you miss yelling at somebody?
No. I mean, we got some guys you can yell at. Nate's in there, Boomer's in there, Phil. But I don't yell anymore. But do you miss it? No, you miss the emotional ups and downs a little bit, yeah. So,
Do you miss Sundays?
Miss Sundays, yeah. I mean, you know what I liked most about coaching, Dan, was probably strategizing. I missed putting together a game plan. I missed the combative back and forth strategic elements of the game on Sunday. Making the adjustments and what you've prepared for all week. All of a sudden, it's not there, which I think Bill Belichick obviously is very, very good at. And I think Sean McVay is good at the battle within the battle. It's because I always say more games are lost than are won. And losing a game sometimes it's a case of not acclimating to your opponent and being able to be flexible enough in your thinking and what you've put in to be able to acclimate to a matchup that all of a sudden, wow, I thought we could win this. We can't win this. How do we protect them? Or all of a sudden I see something I can exploit. Keep going after it because I'd much rather have them do it on the sideline, but if it works once, I'd run it again.
What's the game you still look back on and have a nightmare?
Nightmare? Probably my third year. It was the San Diego Chargers. They came to Pittsburgh for the AFC Championship game, and it was a game we had beaten them earlier in the season and actually beat them and had rested some players. So we were very heavily favored in the game, and we started that game, and it was a game that number one, it was in Pittsburgh. And all that day, it was like 60 degrees, which is probably not a good omen in itself, right? And but it came down to the last play, in the end zone, and Dennis Gibson knocked away a pass from Neil O'Donnell to Barry Foster, and the whole crowd just went silent. And I always remember that game because it was a game that we were a defensive football team, and Barry Foster had 1,700 yards that year, and we imposed ourselves on people, and 4th and 2 and 2, and I went empty and throw the ball, and we incomplete pass. I go into the locker room, and I remember telling the players at the time, I said, there's no words I can say that are going to ease the pain that you're feeling right now, but just understand that you've done a lot for this city, and this was not the end. This is just the beginning of us coming back to being relative again. And I went back into the coaches, and I told the coaches what an amazing job they did. They made this team better than they really ever should be. And they pushed all the right buttons. And I went in there, saw Mr. Rooney, and I said, I'm sorry, Mr. Rooney, for letting you down, but he gave me a little pat on the shoulder, and I saw my wife, and she gave me a peck on the cheek, and I walked over, and my daughter, who was 8 at the time, Megan, was there, and she looked at me, and she goes, Dad, I said, what? She goes, why don't you give the ball to Barry Foster? He could have got 2 yards. And Lauren says, Megan, Mom said not to say it to Dad. Megan said, Lauren, you said the same thing in the box. Girls. Hindsight, you're right. I probably should have given the ball to Barry Foster.
Do you think Pete Carroll faced that same kind of interrogation with his family?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the thing that happens in these games is you do reflect. You reflect
But you outthink if that was a regular season game, would you have made the same call?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I've never second-guessed a call, but you get reflective as to why you did it. And I think if you prepare, the biggest thing is just move on from it. You make a decision, and I've said that to players before after a season. Listen, I want you here. We probably can't keep you or give you what you want. You're going to have to make a monetary decision what the value is to being a part of something special. But if you decide to go, don't look back. Don't look back. Because I think if you put thought into something, you put preparation into something, whatever happens, it was meant to happen. And so you reflect on it so you learn from it, but I don't ever second guess it.
Talking to Bill Cowher, now working with CBS. They will host the Super Bowl, and Bill is receiving the Pat Summerall Award at the Legends for Charity Awards dinner that benefits the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. That'll be Thursday night, and that benefits St. Jude's. You can see him on CBS NFL Today and the Super Bowl today. That'll be on Sunday. Clear up a story for me. You went to NC State. Philip Rivers went to NC State.
Right.
Draft time.
Yep.
I was told you loved Philip Rivers. You wanted Philip Rivers over Ben Roethlisberger. Were you overruled?
No, I mean, we saw the three quarterbacks. We talked all three of them at the combine. It was Eli Manning, Philip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger. We were picking 12th. We had Tommy Maddox at the time. I think everyone is under the consensus that pretty much was that Eli and Philip were going to go very high. We were not going to trade up to get either one of them. We felt like we really needed an offensive lineman. Matter of fact, we were thinking about taking Stacey Andrews, and who was an Arkansas guard at the time. And so we came in, we talked to Ben, and I remember telling Kevin, I said, "You think there's any chance he could slip to us?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "I think there is." And I said, "Well, let me go back and look at him." And so we went back and we looked at him, and I think when you watched Ben play, there's no question his athletic ability was above everybody else. The only questions you had was he played at Miami of Ohio, the quality of opponent. And then you looked at Eli and you look at Philip, these guys played Division I. They could come in tomorrow and be the face of your organization. Where you thought, well, with Ben, all of a sudden he got there. I said, well, with Tommy Maddox, we can sit him for a couple of years, learn behind Tommy Maddox, at least a year, and it would be a perfect scenario. So, no, I mean, I don't think it even came down to rating the three of them. The question was, they're all three going to be good quarterbacks. Would Ben get to us? And I think that was the biggest question that we had at the time was, would Ben Roethlisberger be there with our 12th pick? And when he was, it really was a no-brainer. And then I thought, okay, sit for a year, would end up starting in week 3.
I also was thinking about you when I knew that you were going to be our first guest. If you were involved in a play that the Saints were involved in, and you saw what was happening on the sidelines, and you're Sean Payton, I have to believe you would have been more animated. Like, I didn't know if Sean was animated enough, as strange as that's going to sound, to be that upset with what was obviously helmet-to-helmet, pass interference. Does that matter to an official? Like, when you sell it, do you perform to let them know you just made a horrible call?
I think exactly I would say those exact words, and I'd go back and say, come on, guys, let's respond. I think the biggest thing you can do, the worst thing you can do, is dwell in the moment. I think as a coach, yes, it's very upsetting.
I think it affected them in overtime. I thought that they let it carry over.
Exactly, and I think it's the most important thing. I go back to a playoff game that we had against the Indianapolis Colts, and they made a call against Troy Polamalu. They overturned an interception, and I knew as they were going through this whole thing that this is not going to turn out well. But you cannot dwell on a call, and I think as a coach, you got to get the players back on the task at hand. When they left that field for Sean Payton, and as bad as that call was, they still had a 23. They had a 3-point lead. Come on, we just got to stop them. And I think so. I think for Sean McVay, he's pushed all the right buttons. When you think about the fake punt that he called early in that game that turned around that entire game, 4th and 1, we all say go for the touchdown, which I thought kick the field goal, and all of a sudden then take a 57-yard field goal. If he doesn't make that field goal, if you punt the ball, if you don't make the 5th field goal, they're one field goal away from losing the game. So I think he's made all the right decisions, and they've worked out every one of them for him. And I think in this game itself, too, is going to be a case of making sure that you make the right decisions. Stay aggressive. Just stay aggressive in your thinking because you know Bill will.
But also, when you look at a call like that, would it help you, if you're Sean Payton, if the league comes out publicly and says, we messed up? Like, the longer this goes, why not just come out and say, we made a mistake? Because it feels like we want to pin you down and say, all right, Commissioner, did you get why not come out and say you made a mistake? Is that going to make anything better if you're New Orleans?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we all saw it. We all saw it was a missed call.
But why wouldn't they come out and say something?
Well, I don't know. I've never counted on, I mean, what's it going to make you feel better? Makes you feel better that they admitted they were wrong. I mean, listen, we lost the game. Okay, we had a chance to win the game, even though with a bad call. There's going to be bad calls in the game. There's 135, 140 plays. It's not, and I think Sean McVay said it, and I've said it before, it's an imperfect game. And it's going to be elements that take place because it is bang, bang. And I don't want review for everything. I really don't. I like to, that's a call that was missed, but respond to it. Don't overreact to it. Respond to it. Respond as a team. If something happens, when you make a bad throw, you make a bad interception. We're going to sit there and just say, are you supposed to say sorry to the whole team? No. Let's go. Just respond to it. You miss a tackle. I'm sorry. No, I don't hear it sorry. Just respond to it. I think if you're a football team and you respond to those situations, that is the quality of a champion to me. Because there's going to be ebb and flow in every game. My opinion.
I feel like you're yelling at me a little bit. I like it, though. I like it. What if Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator of the Rams, called you and said, Bill, I'd like to pick your brain here.
Yeah.
What would you do against Brady? What could you tell Wade Phillips?
And I've gone against Bill multiple times, is just expect the unexpected.
But is it Bill you're going against, or you're going against Brady?
It's Bill. I mean, it's Josh McDaniel. I mean, that's who you're going against, and Bill's a part of that. And what those guys do, they do a great job of putting in a plan each week. It's going to be probably a little bit different, but if you don't stop it, last week a Kansas City Chiefs, all of a sudden you're going to just let me run the football.
Yeah.
If you don't stop it, he'll just keep doing it. And then all of a sudden, you're going to open up. James White's going to be in the game. Sony Michel. And then there's Rex Burkhead that comes in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? So Julian Edelman, you better take him away. James White, you better take him away. Tom Brady, make him feel uncomfortable somehow, some way. Because you know where he's going to be. He's going to be in that pocket. So, he's going to be in that pocket. And so you got to make him uncomfortable to some degree. Not all the time. But I tell you what, you better stop the run. And the other thing that comes with the run is the play action. There'll be some play action pass off of it. So you know what? Don't get – it's okay for them to get 4 or 5 yards.
Coach, that's a lot to stop here, okay?
No. No, it's not. So I'm just saying I am flexible enough. One thing I have right now is I'm going to have a run. I'm going to have a run blitz. If I'm Wade, I have a run blitz. I'm going to bring some safeties up there. Mark Barron has played very well, and they've played the run very, very well. Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donald – these two guys inside have played as well as anybody in the postseason. Aaron Donald he's a disruptive football player. So I'm going to stop the run. And the other thing I want to do is I got to take away Edelman. And I thought that they did a very good job last week taking away Michael Thomas. If you watch it, they said, you're not going to beat us with Michael Thomas. So they're going to do that. Aqib Talib, getting him back is huge. And I think he's going to take them away. And they got to continue to play the run the way they played the run last week against the Saints.
Do you run at great players?
Yeah. You do.
So I'm going to run right at Donald and Sue.
I'm going to run.
Because I want to know where you are.
Exactly. You can't run at them both. I would run at Aaron Donald. I would make sure I have two guys that are very much in sync because he will split a double team, and don't try to get him from a backfield. He's too athletic. And so I think he's a very disruptive guy. So I cannot let him get into the backfield and be disruptive. He also can be disruptive in the passing game. So, that's one thing that Tom Brady will be aware of is where is Aaron Donald.
Okay, if I had an open draft, no quarterbacks. You got first pick.
Right now?
Yeah.
Aaron Donald.
Okay.
I think he's the most disruptive defensive player there is. And I say that for this reason because I think the game has become a very quick throwing game. We used to talk about edge rushers before.
Yeah.
But I think the inside rusher, it's the quickest spot to a quarterback, and this guy is the most disruptive guy in football.
Well, the edge rusher, as strange as it's going to sound, can't get there quick enough.
Right.
Whereas if you have somebody who can go – because I think if you beat the Patriots, I got to have strong guys up the middle.
Right.
Ravens did this. The Giants, when they beat Belichick and Brady.
Right.
I got to have that. I got to start there. And if I start there, I feel pretty good because it's going to make my secondary look a whole lot better.
Right.
What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think Aaron Donald coming up and try to get him into a one-on-one matchup. You go back to what they used to do with Reggie White. You put 5 guys across the board, and you put Reggie White right on the center. What's the quickest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
Well, mean Joe Green, too, used to line up right off the center, too.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Alan Page, some of those great guys.
I think those guys are the most disruptive people, and he's a 3-down player. And I think, to me, that's the guy.
Final question for Coach Cowher. Last time you were in a fight?
Last time I was in a fight?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I was playing. I was a player. I fought all the time when I played.
Why are you so angry?
Because that's how I played.
Did you have to play that way?
I played angry. I did. I played. I was a different player when I stepped on the field. I had to. I wasn't very big and I wasn't very fast, but I was going to outwill you. And so I had to get mad at you. I make it personal. I made it personal.
Did you have an off-the-field fight?
In college.
How did it work out?
I always walked away.
Okay. Would your chin be an advantage or disadvantage if you were a boxer? You give me a big target there.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Is it good or bad?
Well, probably not a good thing.
Okay.
But it wasn't always this big.
Oh. Can you take a punch?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Paulie, come over here and hit Bill Cowher.
Dan, there's some people you look at and you looked at, like, if you punched him, he would like laugh and smile and then punch you back.
Yeah.
That's what Mr. Cowher looks like.
Yeah. You could be a villain.
Yeah.
I think so.
You think so?
In a movie.
Yeah.
I think. Like a Bond villain. Like your smile's too good, though. Yeah, we'd have to. Well, it's kind of.
Yeah.
There's a Dale Earnhardt Sr. look to you as well when you smile. I could see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything isn't always as you perceive it.
I didn't like that grin there. Coach, congratulations on the Pat Summerall Award.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
great to see you. He's Bill Cowher.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.